Miami Dolphins beat the Patriots somehow week one. They have not won since then. They gave the Bills a little bit of a tougher time than I thought, but what's going on here with this offense? What's going on with this team? Well, one thing that they have going on is the lingering possibility that they will trade for Deshaun Watson. And it is down to the deadline, and Mike, we know that deadline spur action in the NFL and in many businesses. Nobody moves to their bottom line position on any type of transaction until the clock is in the process of striking 12. Now, here's what I reported last night. They were very close to getting a deal done. They were moving toward a deal, the Texans and the Dolphins, early last week. And the Dolphins want the 22 civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct during massage therapy sessions to be resolved. There's nothing anyone can do to resolve the 10 criminal complaints. That has to work its way through the criminal process. Grand jury is going to have to decide what to do. But the 22 civil complaints can be settled. And Deshaun Watson was moving towards settling them. And what happened last week was the Texans caught wind of what was happening with the potential settlement, and they put their thumb on the scale. They drove up the price. Now, there wasn't a deal in place or anything like that. They didn't renege on a deal, but they increased their price, and that killed the momentum toward getting the deal done last Tuesday or thereabouts. So now here we are. Texans still want more than what the Dolphins want to give, and the question is, does someone blink between now and 4 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday? And if a trade happens, look for the cases to settle. And if the trade doesn't happen, look for the cases to continue, because Deshaun Watson is relenting on his desire that there be no confidentiality provision, that everything be open, and it's usually the other way around for the party who's writing the check to settle a case. But Deshaun Watson will retreat to his position that everything should be transparent if there isn't a trade. He's willing to give in on that point if it facilitates a trade to the Dolphins. So now we just wait and see who's going to pick up the phone, who's going to blink, who's going to have the motivation to get this done. The Texans want to do it. The Dolphins want to do it. Watson wants to do it. We'll see if they can land the plane.
So I completely get that deadline spur action, no doubt about it. And 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow is that deadline. So we'll see with backs against the wall if it gets done. So if it gets done, it gets done. Then we talk about the completion of the deal and who got what and how it's going to work out. But let me ask you this. Let me go to the other side of it and say it doesn't get done. What then is the timing? What is there a next deadline that spurs action, or how far does this thing linger on, and then do maybe other teams get involved down the line?
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I've said all along it's better for the Texans to just kick this can into March, because by the time you get to the end of the season, first of all, we'll have clarity when it comes to the criminal cases. At some point between now and March, we'll know, is he going to be indicted on a felony charge? And that would be the thing that would immediately trigger commissioner exempt list, paid leave, and also very real jeopardy for Deshaun Watson. But we'll know a lot more about the criminal side. The civil side could still be settled in theory in March, although, depending upon what happens in the development of the cases, it could cause one side to maybe be more stubborn and create more of a wedge. But I think generally we're going to know more about the criminal and civil cases come March. And you're going to have more teams that are going to say, we got to get rid of this quarterback that we have. We got to get in on this Deshaun Watson thing. And the Texans will have more teams at the table. But they're motivated to move him now. Cal McNair, according to ESPN, wants this trade to happen. And the one thing that they risk if they don't trade him by tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, Mike, is that Deshaun Watson shows up on Wednesday and says, I'm ready to play. Because this unofficial paid leave imposed by the team, it only works if the player's okay with it. You can't involuntarily put a player on paid leave. That was one of the facets of the 2006 labor deal. It was a reaction to the Terrell Owens case. And remember, it happened with Keyshawn Johnson as well a few years before that. You can't just tell a guy to go home and we'll pay you. If he wants to be there, if he's under contract, you have to let him in, and he's still part of the team. And the only way around it is to trade him or to cut him. Well, as of 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, you can't trade him. So you either have to welcome him back in if he wants to return, or you have to cut him. And they're not going to do that. So that's the one, if I'm the Texans, that's the one thing I'm keeping an eye on. If I ultimately dig in and refuse to take the best offer of the Dolphins, and kick all of this to March, how big of a risk am I assuming that Deshaun Watson's going to show up on Wednesday?
So at the end, what do you think? I mean, do you think they just are going to wash their hands of this and say Deshaun Watson is now somebody else's problem? We're going to take the best offer we can get and be done with this. It seems like they would like to do that, but I also would imagine they have at least a threshold of what they want from Miami for this.
And the thought all year has been that Nick Caserio, the GM of the team, wants what he wants, and he's not yielding on it. And my general observation is, and this is our friend Big Cat's point, dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. And we got a couple of teams right now that are dysfunctional. Can they land the plane? Can they pull it off? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is dysfunctional. Can they figure out how to press the right buttons, pull the right levers, say the right things, so everyone gets to the point? You know what it's got to be with one of these trades? You know, it's like the nuclear launch codes. Both sides have to put the key in and turn it at the same time. Everything's got to line up just right. A few years ago, the Browns wanted A.J. McCarron in a deadline deal with the Bengals, and the Browns screwed up the paperwork. So that's my concern, that they're not able to pull it off. And there is one other little thing that's ricocheting around the league, and I don't know if there's any merit to it, but I think it's amusing. There's a concern or a thought that Nick Caserio is concerned if he doesn't get enough for Deshaun Watson, he's going to incur the disapproval of his former boss, Bill Belichick. The Belichick's going to kind of grumble and look down his nose at Caserio for not getting enough for Watson. And, oh, by the way, he's thinking about sending Watson to the division where Belichick would have to deal with him twice a year. So that part of it's kind of funny. But, you know, at the end of the day, if the owner wants it, Mike, and the owners like to say, I'm not involved in football decisions, I never give orders. Yeah, but when the owner makes his preferences known, if you want to have a good relationship with that guy over the long haul, you need to hear what the owner's saying and maybe do what the owner wants.
Yeah, I could. This is such a tough one because of both scenarios that you set up. Which is best for the Texans? It almost feels like be done with this. As I said, wash your hands of it and move on and know what you get back in the direction you're going, at least for the Dolphins as well. Maybe don't play around with fire. You want this guy, and if you don't get him now, you're going to open it up to other teams possibly getting him as well if it does seem like the way it's going that they would want to move on from Tua.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.